Welcome to Wendigo Tales. I hope you enjoy. A first-hand account of Operation Winter Silence. Declassified testimony 2045. Survivor report. Dr. Elias Shaw. Part 1. The Descent. March 3rd, 2025. Southeast Greenland ice sheet. GPS coordinates classified. If you are reading this, then someone finally decided the truth mattered more than the cover-up. My name is Dr. Elias Shaw. was glaciologist with the University of Edinburgh, contracted by a NATO-backed research team in early 2025 for an operation dubbed Winter Silence. The public-facing mission? Geothermal anomaly mapping near the southeastern edge of the Greenland ice sheet. The real objective? Excavating a Nazi facility that, according to decades-old intelligence, never officially existed. We were told the mission would last no more than 3 weeks. We arrived there by helicopter, dropped in a crescent-shaped clearing between jagged ice shelves that looked like the jaws of some ancient beast. A temporary shelter had already been erected by a NATO precursor team, a skeleton crew of engineers who left the moment our boots touched the ground. To be honest, the first warning sign should have been us all being armed and having to undergo mandatory combat training. The second was the crew. They moved fast, quiet, faces blank. No welcome, no briefing. Just a warning from a tech who looked haunted. Don't read the papers. We assumed he'd just been out here too long. The structure was buried beneath nearly 150 feet of compressed glacial ice, preserved almost perfectly by nature's indifference. Thermal imaging had revealed an artificial geometry, angular patterns no natural formation could make. With industrial drills and seismic vacuums, the team had cracked through the last dozen meters of blue-white crust and found a door. Steel, reinforced, stamped with the insignia of the Wehrmacht, and a code. Schneewolfhol Dreisen. The Snow Wolf's Lair. Kessler, our team leader, led the group from the front, and Petrov, our engineer, covered the rear. Inside, the air reeked of chemical decay and rust. The lights were dead, but many of the wall panels were still intact. The corridor was narrow, industrial, and unwelcoming, constructed less like a military base and more like a crypt. The metal groaned under our weight, but the temperature was shockingly stable. Somehow, the internal environment was insulated, preserved. Our team was made up of 10 people, each chosen for their expertise. There's Captain Adrian Kessler. He was former Swiss military and the team leader. Dr. Julia Reyes, the microbiologist. She was chatty on the flight in, but didn't speak a word once we got to the bunker. Tom Ramirez, demolitions and retrieval expert. Ingrid Lenz, German linguist and historian. Hendricks, weapons expert. He was always quiet, always writing in a black notebook. Dr. Mahir Al-Saeed, a biochemist with a secretive past. I have no clue which institute he works for. Yuri Petrov, the Russian engineer. He seemed to have too much knowledge about Nazi tech. Karen Wu, our electrical systems and security engineer. Lucas Page, our camera operator. He documented everything. And me, Dr. Elias Shaw, glaciologist and the data recorder. As we continued down the corridor, it eventually opened up into a wide communal area with small metal tables and chairs dotted around the room, with Nazi memorabilia decorating the walls. There was 3 doors, 2 to the left and 1 to the right. The one on the right had an ancient cigarette dispenser next to it, and the door was still open. Kessler took point and went into the room, whilst Ramirez and Petrov cleared the other 2 rooms. After the rooms were all cleared, we all gathered in the room Kessler went in. He set up base inside what appeared to be a command atrium, a 4-story tall room with walls decorated with old German signage, worn maps, and ancient computers and radios frozen in time. What stood out to us was the computers. They seemed more recent, as if something from the 60s. There was something chilling about how normal everything looked, despite the Nazi stuff, like they'd simply vanished mid-shift. But there was something else. Beyond the command room was a sealed door marked STUFE 1 to 5. It turned out to be an elevator. Only levels 1 and 2 were immediately accessible. The rest had been blocked remotely from somewhere else, according to Wu. However, she managed to bypass the first few systems and override the elevators. With each level we descended, we found things more bizarre than the last. Level 1 was military. There was the barracks, several mess halls, and the armory. Old weapons, uniforms, and personal effects were strewn about. Some were destroyed, and others covered in blood. In the barracks, beds and cupboards were destroyed, covered in old blood, mixed with a dull blue residue. On one desk, I found an open journal. Amongst the smudged and blood-stained pages, I could decipher the crazed ramblings of a soldier. One phrase repeated in multiple entries. The blue god sleeps. Then came level 2. It was all research, filled with microscopes, chalkboards, a surgery room, with 6 refrigeration units. And once again, they were all damaged, torn apart and covered in blood. I still don't understand why we didn't turn back. We all continued through in silence. Most of us were clearly on edge. One room was filled with cages, the kind used for animals, except much larger, and the bars were far thicker. Some of the bars were bent outward, with a dull blue liquid on them. Reyes paused and quietly collected some samples, and then we moved on. Then came level 3. That's where we found the hangars. Page was the one who broke the silence. Wow, are those UFOs? He said whilst recording them. Petrov responded, Da, they look similar to the Glock. I thought it was all just conspiracies and propaganda, stated Lenz, as she looked up in awe. Thank God they didn't use it then, otherwise we'd all be speaking German, laughed Ramirez. No offence, Lenz. None taken, she responded. The aircraft bays held unmarked, clearly incomplete flying machines. Most were sleek, round, disc-like designs, whilst others were bell-shaped. No propellers, and no clear thrusters. But Love theorised anti-gravity propulsion, whereas Saeed proposed magnetic drive, but none of us were propulsion engineers. There was also 6 fully built Gotha Go 229s, found a blueprint with a name and drawings later on. They were very similar to the Ho 229 prototype the Germans made during the war. I learnt about it from Found and Explained on YouTube. In one corner, I found rows of fully assembled V2 rockets, and partially assembled larger rockets. Maybe they were V3s. Near them was a crate with what appeared to be rifles. Not like anything I'd seen from World War II. They were made of lightweight alloys, and had chambers that housed pulsing crystalline cores. One was labelled Leitwerfer, light thrower in English. Captain Kessler kept one. "It's humming," he said curiously. We went back to the elevator. Once we all gathered inside, Lenz pressed the button for the next floor. Level 4 is what changed everything. I knew we should have turned back sooner. I don't understand why we didn't. I thought we was just studying an old base. I think the others knew something I didn't. As the elevator descended, dread started to creep in. The tension in the air was palpable, whilst we all waited in silence. The small relief we had from the gore had come and gone. Then, the elevator lurched to a stop at sub-level 4. The door slid open to reveal a hallway, unlike the others. This wasn't military grey, sterile white, like the floors above. This was different. The walls were lined with a black, glassy material, obsidian-like, and faintly warm to the touch. A dim, ambient blue glow pulsed from under the floor panels, like a heartbeat. There was a low hum, almost inaudible, but it set my teeth on edge. Kessler led us from the front. We fanned out, weapons ready, and Page with his camera. We advanced slowly, stepping into a vast circular chamber. At first, we thought it was a water treatment facility or an advanced reactor room. The space was immense, easily over 300 feet across, and dominated by around 4 dozen vertical glass vats arranged in concentric rings. Each stood over 10 feet tall, filled with a viscous, bioluminescent blue liquid that emitted a soft, hypnotic glow. Some still bubbled faintly, tubes running into metal housings above them. Inside each vat was something. It looked like humans, or what were humans. We all stepped closer. Some appeared still, floating in fetal positions, with tubes inserted into their spines and skulls. Others were grotesquely malformed, bloated, stretched, their eyes sealed shut, mouths open in eternal screams. Skin blackened with frostbite or rot. One vat had clawed handprints on the inside of the glass, frozen mid-scratch. Ramirez muttered, "Jesus Christ," and turned away to throw up. Reyes whispered, "These were people. This wasn't cryogenics. It was containment." At the far end of the chamber, Kessler found something even worse. The pods. There were 6 massive, coffin-like containers made of a dull black metal. Each one bore a brass plate labelled Subject 001 through to 006. and above them, the words Project Eisengota, Neues Arisches Zeitalter, Project Iron God, New Aryan Age. All of the pods have been opened, not unlocked, not dismantled, but forced open from within. What was left was mangled metal and crumpled doors. One pod's lid had been held across the chamber and embedded in a wall. Inside was a skeletal framework of restraints which were torn apart. Dry blood was still poured in the bottom, mixed with that same blue goo. Al-Said was at one of the consoles, scanning through frozen UI text in German. It translated to Subject 004, Aggressive Tissue Regeneration, Neural Deterioration, Secondary Mutation after 72 hours, Containment recommended, not viable for deployment. There were logs, experiments, and diagrams, but no mention of escape protocols, no termination failsafes, just a growing desperation to evolve something beyond human. Petrov pointed out several words scrawled on the floor near the central control station, etched deep into the steel plating with a thick blade or a claw. Schlieft nicht, verändert sich. He does not sleep. He changes. That's when we heard it. A metallic groan. Not from us. Deep. Distant. Seal the chamber, Kessler ordered. Backtrack, now. But it was too late. As we turned to leave, the blue glow from one of the vats flickered violently and lit up the room, then surged like lightning underwater. The glass cracked on the opposite side from us. We all froze. A low guttural thrum pulsed through the floor. We all stood in silence as we heard the crack continue to spiderweb up the glass. Then suddenly, it gave way. The sound of goo and something large and heavy fell to the floor. Then it let out an inhuman, guttural scream, one that I wish I could forget.